Having your favorite team come back from what seemed like definite defeat is one of the greatest feelings ever. Great comebacks are cool, but the greatest comebacks are just unforgettable. Here are the 15 greatest comebacks in football history. Number 15 is the one-legged comeback that Neymar and his PSG teammates pulled off against Atalanta in the Champions League quarterfinal back in 2020. If you remember, there was no second leg that year, so everything had to be sorted out there and then. In the 90th minute, PSG were a goal down and would miss the semi-final of the Champions League yet again. But two quick additional time goals from Marquinhos and Choupo-Moting completely turned this around and sent PSG to the semis. Atalanta didn't even know what hit them. But the year before that, it was PSG who didn't know what hit them when they met Man United in the Champions League round of 16. They won the first leg at Old Trafford 2-0, and we all thought that was it. But United were not ready to give up at all. Lukaku scored in just the second minute in the return leg in Paris, and that gave the United players hope and belief. And Bernat's 12th minute equalizer for PSG did nothing to that United hope. Lukaku scored again in the 30th minute, and all they needed was one goal to get them through. That goal was elusive though, but Kimpembe finally presented United a gift by stretching out his hand to block a shot in the 18-yard box in additional time. Rashford stepped up and blasted the penalty to the back of the net, and just like that, the comeback was complete. United went through on away goals. Neymar couldn't play, but he was on the sidelines with shock written on his face. The brother couldn't believe his team had bottled again. Oh, and PSG are still bottling till today. In number 13, we have Real Madrid come back from 2 goals down in the second half of the second leg of their round of 16 game against PSG in 2022. PSG won the first leg 1-0, and even won the first half of the second leg 1-0, but Benzema came through with a second half hat trick and single-handedly knocked out Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, and the rest of the star-studded crew. But we can't even talk about a Madrid player single-handedly completing a comeback with a hat trick without talking about the OG. CR7 against Wolfsburg in 2016. That's number 12 today. The Spanish Giants lost their quarterfinal first leg 2-0, and of course they needed 3 goals in the second leg to go through to the semis. And that was light work for Cristiano Ronaldo. Goals in the 15th, 17th, and 77th minutes from the Portuguese legend were enough to complete a great comeback for Real Madrid. And that comeback is even more memorable because it sort of heralded the start of Madrid's European dominance. And not all the great comebacks happened in the Champions League. Number 11 happened in the Copa del Rey in 2021. It was the quarterfinal between Barcelona and Granada, a one-legged tie. By the 87th minute, Granada were 2 up. Surely they had done enough to knock Barcelona out. Well, not quite. Griezmann and Alba came clutch with 88th and 92nd minute goals respectively and forced extra time. Then Barcelona went on to finish the job with 3 more goals in extra time to complete their comeback and make it to the semi-final of the competition. And you would think Barcelona would have tried to not further increase their fans' blood pressure in the next round, but nah, they just had to. That's why they're also in number 10. The semi-final was a 2-legged tie against Sevilla, and they lost 2-0. Already had the fans thinking the memorable comeback in the quarterfinal was for nothing. But the fans were given a treat in the second leg. Barcelona indeed made a comeback, but they left it incredibly late, with Piqué making the aggregate score 2-2 in the 94th minute. Anyway, like they did against Granada, they went into extra time and completed the comeback. Thankfully, they didn't need another comeback in the final. They finished off Athletic Club 4-0. Pretty comfortable, that one. A pretty similar story happened in the 2018 World Cup though, and that makes it to number 9 today. Only that this time it was just 1 game, and also there was no need for extra time. Japan were on their way to pulling off one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history when they scored 2 early second-half goals against Belgium in their round of 16 tie. But it seems like somewhere along the line, the sleeping giant in Belgium was awakened and they came back to score 3 goals, with the last coming in the 94th minute of the game. That's still a World Cup classic till date. Now, Barcelona fans surely have mixed feelings about great comebacks, because while their club has pulled off some really memorable ones, they have also been on the receiving end a couple of times too. Remember that one against Roma in the Champions League quarterfinal back in 2018? That's number 8. Barcelona seemed to have gotten the job done when they beat Roma 4-1 in the first leg at the Camp Nou. But Roma had other ideas when they got back to Italy. They beat Barcelona 3-0 at home, completing the comeback with an 82nd minute goal from Manolas. And just like that, Barcelona were kicked out of the competition. I guess Barcelona failed to behave like Romans when they got to Rome. But if we throw it further back to 2013, it's a much happier story for Barcelona and comebacks. In number 7 is the great comeback against Milan in the Champions League round of 16. Barcelona lost the first leg 2-0 to AC Milan, and the media really went in on Messi and his crew. Messi especially. It was insurmountable. They were sure Barca were out. But in the second leg at the Camp Nou, we saw a completely different Messi. He scored the first 2 goals of the game and inspired Barcelona to a 4-0 win and a record-breaking comeback. That became the first time any team had overturned a first-leg 2-goal deficit in Champions League history without the help of away goals. But you know the drill, if Messi can do it, Ronaldo can too. And if the comeback against Wolfsburg wasn't enough, CR7 did it again against Atletico Madrid when he was at Juventus. And that is number 6 today. Atletico won the first leg 2-0, and you know what followed it? A disrespectful taunt from Simeone. If only he could see the future. Anyway, Ronaldo went to the second leg and single-handedly completed a comeback with a special hat trick. And of course, he didn't forget to give Simeone a taste of his own medicine with that same disrespectful taunt. Moving on, we have another comeback facilitated by a memorable hat trick in number 5. After watching the first leg and the first half of the second leg of the 2019 semi-final between Ajax and Spurs, we were all sure Ajax were in the final. I mean, they had a 3-goal aggregate lead with 45 minutes to go, and Spurs were without Harry Kane. Surely there was no way back. Who was going to bring them back into the game, if at all? Well, a certain diminutive Brazilian stood up and carried his team. Lucas Moura scored in the 55th and 59th minutes and left the last one really late to make it even more special. He completed the hat trick and the comeback in the 96th minute, and bro, my mouth was on the floor. What a comeback, man. Spurs fans will never ever forget this one, no way. Of course, the number 4 comeback also happened in a Champions League game, but this time it was the Champions League final, the biggest stage of all. This was back in 1999. Man United were up against Bayern Munich at the Camp Nou. Bayern scored a very early goal in the 6th minute and protected it all the way till minute 90. But I don't know if it was that Bayern relaxed or that Fergie was just a genius because he made just 2 substitutions in that game and those subs won the game for him. He introduced Sheringham and Solskjaer in the second half, and they started and finished the turnaround between them. First, it was Sheringham who equalized in the 91st minute, and then Solskjaer completed the comeback in the 93rd minute. I don't think United fans have ever enjoyed a comeback more than this one. Their team was down and out by the 90th minute, but somehow they managed to come out winners of the Champions League, and in the broader sense, the first English European treble winners in football history. An absolutely epic comeback that was. Anyway, the number 3 greatest comeback was pulled off by United's worst enemies, Liverpool. In 2019, they lost the first leg of the Champions League semi-final due to a dominant Barcelona. And they didn't just lose, they lost 3-0. I'm sure many Liverpool fans had lost any hope of making it to the final that year. But then the second leg was happening at Anfield. Anything could happen there, right? But without their starman Mo Salah, that was going to be extra difficult. Anyway, they managed an early goal in the first half, which meant they needed 3 in the second to oust Barcelona and make it to the final. Was it going to happen? A quick fire double from Wijnaldum in the 54th and 56th minutes gave the Reds an insane amount of hope. And then, corner taken quickly, Origi. Absolutely crazy scenes at Anfield that day. A great, epic, and absolutely memorable comeback for the Liverpool faithful. But then it's difficult to say that that was the greatest and most memorable comeback Liverpool fans had ever experienced, because there's still the miracle of Istanbul. That miracle makes it to number 2 today. The final between Liverpool and AC Milan in 2005 is arguably the greatest finals in the history of the Champions League, and that is because of the unprecedented comeback from Liverpool that night. Milan literally scored in the first minute of the game and were already 3 goals up at halftime. Everyone who was watching knew that this final was going to be one for the books. Almost everyone thought that we were going to see a demolition that night, maybe the most humiliating scoreline in the history of Champions League finals. But Liverpool came out of the tunnel for the second half a completely different team. Gerrard opened the scoring for the Reds in the 54th minute and gave the team and fans a glimmer of hope, and that hope turned into reality rather quickly. By the 60th minute, the score was 3-3. Huh? Oh yes, Liverpool completed their comeback in literally 6 minutes. And to make the fairy tale just perfect, the game went to extra time and then penalties, which Liverpool won 3-2. And that right there was the greatest comeback we had ever seen in a Champions League final. And as a matter of fact, I really don't think we will ever get to see something like that happen again. Now to the greatest comeback in the history of the Champions League and in the history of football, La Remontada. Barcelona lost 4-0 in the first leg of their Champions League knockout game, and the whole world was sure that Barcelona were out. Well, except Enrique, Barcelona's coach at the time. He made a very bold statement in an interview before the second leg. If they can score 4, we can score 6. I really can't say what went on in the Barcelona training ground building up to that second leg, but it was definitely madness. They came into that game a totally different team, and by the 50th minute they were 3-0 up. They could smell it. One more goal and they could force extra time. But hopes for extra time were dashed when Cavani scored one for PSG in the 62nd minute. From hoping for 1 goal, Barca fans were now hoping for 3 or nothing. At the 87th minute, it was nothing. But Neymar put up the greatest show of his entire footballing career in the last few minutes of the game, scoring 2 goals in the 88th and 91st minutes. But they still weren't enough. Barca would have gone out on away goals. They needed 1 more goal. The clock was ticking. Time was against them. They were down to the final seconds of the game, still needing 1 goal. Everybody was in PSG's half, including Barca's goalkeeper. With one last throw of the dice, Neymar threw a cross into the PSG box and hoped someone would just make contact with it. But it missed Messi, missed Suarez, missed all Barcelona's attackers, and even midfielders. But thankfully, their right back was lurking and managed to stretch out a leg and put the ball in the back of the net in the 95th minute. Camp Nou erupted. Barcelona had just pulled off the impossible, the greatest comeback in the history of the Champions League, and frankly, the greatest comeback in football history. It really doesn't get better than this. But I honestly cannot imagine how embarrassing that must have been for the PSG coach, players, and even fans. But now that I mention embarrassing, let me show you football superstars' most embarrassing moments ever. I promise you, you'll love this one. Just click on that video right there and check it out. Thank me later.